Today I'm going to show you how to make boxy and resonant vocals sound more natural, and the best part is that you're not going to need an EQ that looks like this. And I promise you that if you put this first in the chain, the result is going to sound like you recorded on a different mic. And the final technique that I use at the end is really going to take this sound to the next level. All right, so we're going to open up Ozone and we're going to delete these two modules here and open up the stabilizer module. Let's play the audio that we have and give it a listen.
Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu.
We're gonna just loop this here. Listen to it again.
Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of resonance in the mid-range, sounding boxy and very nasally. Some stuff I would definitely want to get rid of. But the cool thing about the stabilizer plugin is it just does it in such a way that kind of reshapes the tone of the vocal. And the way that I use it is that once it reshapes it, I kind of treat it like that's how it was recorded. So it gets rid of a lot of the boxiness, a lot of the resonance. Not perfect, but definitely a better starting point. So what I normally do is I keep everything at the default setting, low, mid, high at 100. Speed 50, smoothing 50, and all I'm going to do here is increase the amount. Usually I choose about anywhere between 40 and 60. We'll go more extreme here and we'll do 60 and give a listen to what it sounds like now.
Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu.
I mean, that really reshaped the vocal. So what it's doing is it's taming the mid-range, and when it tames the mid-range, it boosts up some highs and some lows, and considerably you're getting a beefier, thicker vocal, which you might not want in a mix that has a lot of low mids and low end, but it just sounds a lot cleaner, and it gives you a little bit better of a starting place to work with rather than, you know, hearing this raw vocal and starting to chop away at all the resonant frequencies. So it's like a broad shaped kind of EQ where you just kind of scoop out the mids, boost the highs and the lows, but it's doing it better than just using an EQ. It's doing it dynamically. I'm not entirely sure how many bands are currently happening here to do that, but I know that it's operating within 3 bands. So a lot of action going on in between each band, but it really does a good job. Now, they have 2 options here, shape and cut, and I usually like it on shape because I like how it reshapes the vocal, but let's listen to it on cut. I'm going to choose a different part of the vocal as well, and this is going to be bypassed.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like.
All right, and now what we're going to do is just A-B between the shape and the cut and see what we like better, and then we'll tweak some of these knobs down here and see if we get a result that we like. So here it is on cut, and then I'll go back to shape.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place.
I don't know. I like those low mids. I like the way that the vocal sounds when it has more of that low mid energy there, rather than just kind of taming the mid range, because the vocal still sounds relatively thin. You can add in the low mids on your own, don't get me wrong, but you know, maybe it would be about dialing back some of this low end. The one thing that I noticed though is that I believe the low end is operating at 100 hertz and below, which you're not going to get a lot of that in the vocal. It's going to be a lot of whatever was happening in the background, plosives, you know, rumble, things like that. So what you can do is just lower the lows here. I believe that everything operates below 100 hertz, so you might not get a lot of effect on the vocal when you do that. I find that in the mid-range, it's operating at 100, between 100 and 5.6K, so you're going to get a lot of low mid bumps still. Check it out.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo.
It definitely sounds cleaner here. That low energy is like to the ear right now. Like, ooh, that sounds good. Like that's it just sounds thicker, you know, but in a mix, I don't think that stuff is going to fly. So what I normally do, if I like what it's adding and I want to keep the vocal thick like that without making it too thin, like completely diminishing all of this, I will go ahead and add a EQ and a high pass filter and just retain as much of whatever lows were boosted with the Ozone as I possibly want. And we can either do a low shelf or a high pass filter, whatever works for you, whatever you think would sound better. Some argue that the shelf will sound better. This is just for an example, rolling off some low end and see what we actually can hear. But let's give it a listen.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu, from a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu.
So you can really just roll off as much as you want. Right now we're up to 166, which might be a little bit too much with a high pass filter on a vocal, but it may work for you in the mix. So that'll be one way to kind of help tame whatever this added on the low end, if you like the thickness that it added to the vocal, but it got too boomy in the mix. The one thing I like about this plugin, like I said earlier, is that you're getting a high-end boost. So you're not just getting the mid-range cut, you're getting some clarity out of it as well, and some thickness in the vocal. So this is, you don't got to do 60%, you can do 20%. This is a mastering processor and a mastering suite. So it's not ideal to put this on a vocal, but it does compete with some of the other things on the market that are trying to accomplish resonance removal and kind of reshaping the vocal. And I think that it's a good competitor. It is definitely something that I use often when I'm mixing, especially when the vocal has a lot of boxiness and a lot of resonance in the mid-range, just due to the environment that you recorded in, you know, whether it was something that was over the microphone, in a closet, the type of microphone that you have, the microphone positioning, all of these things matter. And I find that I'm often dealing with not clean recordings, you know, recordings that have a lot of issues in them, and they got to be dealt with. You cannot keep the vocal sounding like this.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu, from a place where preachers.
The last thing that I do here, which really helps when I'm trying to reshape the vocal and get it to a place that now I can start adding processing, so that when I add compression and saturation, it's not processing this kind of resonant filled boxy vocal, you know, that's the way I look at it. And, you know, I might put Soothe on here and I might really try to tame that 2.7K area. I'll let you give it a listen, because this is what I'm really hearing, and it definitely needs to be kept at bay.
That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu, from a place where preachers like a taboo. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu, from a place where.
And it was really, really prevalent right here.
Satan is the chef in hell's kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the.
So that area 2.5, 2.7K, I just kind of band pass it here like this, and I'm only really dealing with that area of like 2 to 3.5K. I'm not trying to dig too deep into anything below this area, because then the vocal can really start sounding like you're processing it too much. And even here, I might just dial it back a little bit and only get a little, because when it comes to resonances in vocals, when you try to completely remove them, if there's a lot going on, eventually all of that processing is going to make the vocal sound really overprocessed. You're going to start to get a lisp out of the vocal. The high end starts to sound weird. So you can't really completely remove this stuff. It's small moves, you know, incrementally as you proceed, you know, throughout your plugin chain, throughout the mix. But I think that this is a really good starting place for getting all of those resonances under control. So here is what adding Soothe sounds like before and after. So before.
Satan is the chef in hell's kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in hell's kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in hell's kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu. Satan is the chef in hell's kitchen, pasta shell spilling ragu.
It really helps that frequency that's really poking out right here. Even with the Ozone on, you still hear it so much. So let's bypass everything. I'm going to get annoying and just play this sound back and forth so you hear what's actually happening and what's being tamed. And then we'll just go ahead and give a B throughout the whole, you know, loop again. So here it is, just listening to this one really annoying frequency with no processing on.
say, 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 say.
So it's not completely gone, but it's way more controlled. And it sounds natural still. So let's go ahead and give a before and after again, and we'll wrap the video up.
Satan is the chef in Hell's Kitchen, pasta shells spilling ragu. That's why in the spirit I'm hardcore with it like Sabu. From a place where preachers like a taboo, to those who only read the Bible to find a verse to wear for a tattoo. Them cats knew he ain't just waving, it ran a tattoo. Got stuck in the trap, leg snapped, caught in the rat glue. Dog was lying harder with the solar size of Shaq shoes. The 10 toes on the concrete, now he a statue. The plans to detach you from whoever you attach to. The facts, you've been under attack by the men in black who let it flash and dash quicker than delivering fast food. If they putting money on your head, just know that cash rules.
Thanks for hanging out with me today and watching the video. If you liked it, then hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so that you never miss an update. And also drop a comment below and let me know any thoughts or insights that you have with this technique as well. And until the next video, may God bless you.